Hey everyone. I have been digging a little bit more into this case with Nolan Wells, and it just really smells of foul play. Um, just so many aspects of it. We all got about the cell phone, um, that it not being with him, and the claim that, he was keeping it on the boat because of of course of the water. But if he had made a decision to actually be with a girl who we come to understand is Katie, then why didn't he say, you know what, hey, let me grab my things. I'm going to just take my phone with me and put it on the boat with his friend Katie if he was planning on going back to the mainland with her and her group of friends, right? I don't imagine that Nolan was the type of person who would forego going with the group of friends that he came with and then deciding that he would go with Katie and her friends without ensuring that he had an actual plan to get back home. So that is disturbing in itself. So all of that just doesn't make any sense to me. He sounds like a kid too that would have let his parents know that plans had changed, that he was no longer going with the friends that he came with, that he would be arriving with Katie and her friends instead. But let's just say that in the interest of romance, that, he wasn't thinking clearly. One thing, you know, he would have grabbed his phone and said, hey, I can put that on the boat that I'm going to be traveling on, because I would imagine that he would have really planned that if he made plans to go back with her. But we all know now that Katie left prior to the group of friends that Nolan originally arrived with, that she left prior to all of them. And so there's a discrepancy in what Nolan supposedly told his friends, right? The other thing that really doesn't make sense to me has to do with the distress call that was made to a private towing company. They said, we are sinking. We're sinking. Can you please come? I want to get this boat unsank and towed back. And they mentioned that it is the bilge pump that is failing. And so I was really curious about this bilge pump, because, this is what helps to take the water out of the boat. And what was interesting is that they said that they called this private towing company. And one thing, if you have an issue with your bilge pump, then should you be actually towing the boat with a damaged bilge pump? And so I just kind of like said, let me, look at this. And I'm looking at a co-pilot search here, and it says, can towing a boat damage a bilge pump and cause a fix issue? So it says towing a boat can potentially damage a bilge pump and related components, which may lead to a fix issue when the pump fails. While the bilge pump itself is usually not directly stressed during towing, the mechanical and electrical systems it depends on can be affected. And so, if the bilge pump was already affected and not uh, taking out the water from the boat as it was intended to do, then towing the boat seems like it would result in more damage to it. And so, from my understanding from reading about this, what was stated is that the boat was towed for a period of 3 miles. And what's really curious too about this is what was said by the dispatcher, right? The dispatcher says, is everyone on board in good health otherwise? And then what was communicated, yeah, everybody is on board. Really strange. Um, so they're asking, is everyone in good health? And then the response is, yeah, everybody is on board. That's not really answering the question, right? It's kind of puzzling. And so I got this really sense of dread. Like, why is it that they called this private towing company with this distress about the boat, like basically sinking? I just want to get this boat unsank and towed back. This is so curious to me. So, you have a bunch of teenagers that are experiencing this. And my question is that if this is going on, all of these kids have cell phones. Why didn't they take out their cell phones and film that? Film that boat being in this kind of distress, right? Kind of strange. And then when you look at the GPS data, right? Now, normally it takes about an hour to get back to the mainland from Horn Island. So they left at 4:31, basically, and then they're towed for about 3 miles after communicating with this private towing company. They make their first trip into Fort Bayou at 5:52 p.m. So that is an hour and 21 minutes after leaving Horn Island. Then they return to the dock at 6:06 p.m. and then later they at 7:19 p.m. the boat went to Fort Bayou boat launch, and then it's traveled overland. But it's so curious to me is that why would you, if you have a bilge pump issue, why are you getting back in the water? Why is it that you're not just going as soon as you're able to get that boat back? Why are you not dealing with that issue instead of taking the boat out again? That's kind of weird to me. Really strange. So anyways, I just had some thoughts about that. Like, you call a private towing company, maybe you want that towing company to come and meet up with you. Let's think about this. Okay, so the last time anybody saw Nolan was around 3 o'clock, right? And Katie had already left the island. We're not sure exactly what time she left Horn Island, but she assumed that Nolan was with his friends. So, what if he was on the boat? And what, I hate to think about this, but what if calling the private towing company was a way of getting Nolan off the boat? Maybe he was on a boat, and maybe something else nefarious happened here. That's really a horrible thing to think about, but I can't help but wonder, like, why was that call made? It just seems really weird. And how could you um, basically get, uh, someone off of a boat that may not have been, um, maybe something happened and they were trying to figure out what to do. And so you call another boat with the premise that something's wrong with your boat, and then have this other, and have an accomplice. I don't know. It just seems really strange to me. Like nobody else saw Nolan after 3 o'clock. So if nobody else saw him, the friends left. Maybe he's not really, maybe it's because he wasn't on the island anymore. And maybe, like they said, yeah, everybody is on board. Does that mean that that included Nolan at that time? This is so disturbing. I'm gonna tell you one time I was so scared. My son, I could not I could not find him. His friends said that they had dropped him off at home. I come home and I see his cell phone at the house. And his dad is sending me text messages about him being on the beach. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's late. It's after midnight. And I call his friends and I was like, Noah is not home. And they're like, what do you mean he's not home? They all start calling each other. Parents started calling me. What do you mean that he's not home? And uh, it just turned out that there was miscommunication, that Noah was actually with his father. Okay. But all of his friends were losing their mind trying to figure out where he was. Okay. Once they knew, and the parents got involved. And so it's just bizarre to me, right? Like, this is so bizarre. Why is it that, you know, once it's communicated that Nolan didn't make it back home, Like, I'm not sure. Did the friends call the mom first and say, hey, did Nolan make it back home because his car is still here? I have his cell phone. Like, that's weird. Or when the mother called and said, hey, Nolan didn't come home, why weren't they calling each other and saying, hey, he didn't come home? Why is it that you're so kind of like taking this not so seriously? It's like, let me just grab his stuff. I didn't, let me call my friends and find out where he is. I don't know. It's just kind of so. As a parent, you're just asking questions. You're wondering why weren't certain things done by the persons that, said that they were his friends. I know how my son's friends act when I was so concerned as to where he was. So, anyways, those are my thoughts. Um, I think something really needs to be looked at with regards to this private towing company that met up with the boat. Yeah, because that don't make no sense. I want to hear what you all have to think or what you all have to say about it. This truly doesn't make any sense. Okay. I feel so sorry for their family. I can't even imagine having to bury my son. Oh my God. This is just so incredibly tragic. And it just really says like something ain't right. So, what do y'all think? Leave a comment. All right, take care. My really thoughts and prayers go out to Christine and Elmore. I'm just going to continue to pray for you and your family, your other child there with such a tremendous loss. All right, but let's get to the truth. Let's find out what happened. I pray that, these other young men were not involved in this way, but something just really feels foul here. And so, whatever you need to um, be truthful about it. Okay. Good night, everyone.